People often ask me, are we born with talent or can it be developed? Now, if you've ever thought about this question, chances are it's because you see people like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. When we see these people at the top of their game, we're wondering, were they born with that or did they make it happen for themselves? Are these people born with something different? Do they have some special powers? How did they develop and create that ability? I can't speak for all the great people in the world, but in my small way, I can tell you about a little personal experience, maybe a glimpse of what that feels like. I want to tell you about the first time I ever gave a speech on stage. Now today I give speeches and keynotes in front of 100,000, 10,000, thousands of people at a time for some of the biggest brands in the world, including Google, L'Oreal, Facebook. But there was a time when things were very different, very different. I want to tell you about the first time I ever stood on stage. If you remember your first time, tell me in the comments as well. I was around 7 or 8 years old and I was asked to recite a poem in my native language on stage at school. Remember, I'm only 7 to 8 years old. I dressed up in traditional Indian clothes and I was much larger then, so it didn't quite all fit together. I looked like a bit of a mess, but in my mum's eyes, I looked amazing. I walked onto this stage, I had my notes in front of me, and I began to sing. God, I was a terrible singer. I still am. And as I began to sing, the audience started to laugh. I was in front of 500 kids my age in my school, in front of all the teachers, and every single one of them was laughing. These people were like rolling around on the floor, laughing out loud, like they were just literally going ballistic. I wasn't even 2 minutes in. And then, because I was nervous, I started to look down on my piece of paper to read the next line because I forgot that line, and I couldn't read anymore. No, not because I wasn't literate, but because I'd been crying and my tears had washed away the words on the piece of paper. So I couldn't even read the next words. I was crying so much now while everyone else was laughing that my teacher had to walk onto stage, put her arm around me and walk me off stage as everyone continued to laugh. That was my first experience of public speaking. The testimonials would have read, didn't even finish his performance. Looked awkward on stage, not sure we'd have him on stage ever again. Today I've been fortunate enough to speak on stage alongside World Cup winning athletes, global CEOs, and even interview celebrities and authors like Russell Brand and Tim Ferriss. I was and still am one of the most shyest people you'll ever meet, and it probably doesn't come across through camera. But the truth is that public speaking and articulating what I believed in was a skill that I learned over time. And I want to share with you the top lessons that got me to where I am today. There's 3 big reasons as to why I didn't perform well that day and why we usually struggle in front of stages or in front of people. Number 1, we usually don't practice enough. I realized that if you really want to be good at something, you have to invest in it with all your life. You have to become addicted and absorbed to improvement and growth. That means being open to feedback. That means being open to what the experts have to say about you. It means not being attached to your ego and how you feel about yourself, but opening up yourself to an expert group of people to give you insights on how you can grow, evolve, and perform at a higher rate. And linked to that is practice, practice, practice. It's literally impossible to do something perfectly the first time you do it. The more you do it, the better you get. And we think practice is a cliche that we hear all the time, but actually, it's that truth. It's so simple, you might miss it.
Did I miss something here?
The second thing we usually get wrong is that we don't believe in what we're sharing. I've realized that I've grown much more confident about speaking in front of people and even in front of you right now on video because I talk about stuff that's really meaningful to me, that's really purposeful to me. I only choose to share messages that truly resonate with my heart and my head and my intelligence and things that I've immersed myself in for a number of years. Everything I'm sharing, these stories, these ideas, they aren't just made up to sound good. These are things that I really truly try and live and practice and embody in my own day-to-day life. And therefore, if you don't really believe in what you're speaking about, if you don't really understand it, if you haven't tried to live it, then you're always going to struggle trying to articulate it. And even if you get away with articulating something perfectly that you don't believe in, you'll feel empty inside. And that's why sales roles usually end up making people feel quite empty because they're selling stuff and products that they don't think will change your life. Make sure if you're trying to communicate a message for your brand, if you're trying to sell a product, if you're sharing insights and ideas, they have to be things that genuinely connect with you internally.
This feels weird. Are Are you sure this is legal?
And the third reason why we usually don't perform well on stage or in front of people is because we're just thinking about ourselves. We're worrying about, what will people think about me? Will people like me? Will I look good on stage? Will I perform well? We're so fixated by how we look to everyone else that we forget that we're there to serve that audience. We're there to serve the people we're communicating with. As soon as you realize and you switch that paradigm that you're there to serve and make a difference in people's lives, you're now thinking about them. You're now thinking about their experience.
I just want to see you happy, that's all.
This applies to absolutely anything, from photography to videography to dance to music, whatever it may be. Remember, make sure you practice, learn, and invest in improving yourself. Make sure you're sharing stuff that you truly value and believe in. And make sure that you don't make it about you, but about the people you're speaking to. I'd love to hear about your ventures and challenges. Make sure you tell me in the comments, and I can't wait to see you soon.